Here with my very first Lucifer Season 4 episode review video. Before I get into that though, pretty important, if you aren't caught up to the point where I am in rewatching or watching Lucifer, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention, as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you found that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And for all of you out there that are wondering, this is my first time watching the show Lucifer. So join me and the man, the myth, the legend, the Dexter fan, and the Lucifer fanatic himself, Crazy Coffee Man, in the comment section to discuss this show. With that in mind, this will be Lucifer Season 4, Episode 1, the Season 4 premiere. The title of this episode is called Everything's Okay. And this will be my review reaction recap after just finishing watch the episode. So we start the season off with Lucifer playing the piano on different nights at Lux. He's playing over and over again like the same song, apparently, from what I gathered. And then we have Lee putting a gun to Lucifer's head. And Lee was the Brinks truck driver from Season 3 that Lucifer took his clothes and he kind of just disappeared. He needs money and wants Lucifer to pay up. His goons open fire, which of course doesn't affect Lucifer unless Chloe would be around. And he mentions that he wonders how she felt. The detective, of course. Chloe apparently left Los Angeles a month ago on vacation and has yet to return. Don't kill me, man. I'm just a thief, that's all. Lucifer gives him money and gold. So something that he said made Lucifer go, yeah, and he gives him like a bunch of gold and a bunch of money, and hey, that would be a great deal. I would love that. As he thinks he needs a chance at a new life. That's why Lucifer does it. And then, of course, Lucifer allows him to leave. Mazikeen comes up to the penthouse as she mentions that Lucifer is still worried about Decker, and Maze thinks he's trying to avoid things. Dead body time. Dan's on the scene. He says, "Go home, Lucifer." Morning to you as well, Detective Douche. Love it when he calls Dan douche. Just hilarious. Chloe's still not here, and we don't need you, Dan says. So he doesn't want Lucifer involved because nobody really likes Lucifer except for Chloe, apparently, which doesn't make any sense because him and Dan do get along. They're trying to say they don't, but they really do. So Lucifer tells Dan he doesn't have any authority over him. Ella is taking pictures of the victim. She tells Lucifer Dan doesn't mean what he says, and he's just that losing Charlotte Richards really screwed him up. He didn't really know her all that well. They knew each other for like a month or something like that, but I guess it's sad. So he screwed up really bad because of that. Lucifer refuses to sympathize for something that he had nothing to do with because it wasn't Lucifer's fault what happened to Charlotte Richards. Ella says it's going to take him a while. In fact, it's going to take all of them, or all of us, a while. You want the deets, or details, that's what she says, the deets. He's done coming to crime scenes, checking to see if Chloe's there. Foolish, really, that one day she'll just stroll up. So Lucifer doesn't want to do this anymore. He's essentially quitting. But then, hey, sorry I'm late. Decker! Chloe has returned. It's like she never left for the audience. Chloe gets a hug from Ella. Why are you not more tan? Bob Goldback, a beekeeper, is dead. Cause of death? Honey scraper to the neck. Who knew beekeeping was kind of badass? Chloe's back, and now we can finally get back to normal. So Lucifer was about to quit, and now that the detective's back, I'm working. I'm here for the long haul. And Chloe tells Lucifer that she processed with what she saw, and Chloe tells Lucifer she just wants to get back to work. That's what she wants to focus on. Lucifer says, "What the f?" And then we get the intro. So the show is on Netflix now. They could swear if they wanted to, but at the moment they just said "f," and then we go to the evil has a price. Lucifer goes to talk to Linda Martin. He tells Linda that the detective is clearly in denial, Help me, help her, or help me, help her. His devil face returned due to killing a human for the first time. Is that they're saying that Pierce was a human? He wasn't really a human, was he? He was like an immortal being. I don't know. It's confusing. So Lucifer tells Ella Lopez that he's the devil. Chloe asks Lucifer what he's doing exactly, and Ella thinks Lucifer is kidding, of course. The honey scraper didn't come from the victim, but they didn't do good old-fashioned honey. It's a different kind of honey that was on the scraper. Lucifer and Chloe go to where the various honey stands are. Since the detective is clearly comfortable with his devilishness, care to see my mojo in action? And Chloe and Lucifer go to speak to Glenn Dobbs. What do you desire? Excuse me? He wants Bob Goldbeck to die. Case solved, detective. He was terrified of Bob. He didn't realize Bob was dead, though. He wants to talk in private. Bob gave Glenn some bruises. Lucifer seen that work before in hell. The bruising was actually caused by a bag of doorknobs, of all things. So apparently Bob, well, we find out more information, but Bob was like a mobster that used to beat people up with a bag of doorknobs instead of like pool balls. Luke Reynolds was following Lucifer and Chloe. He's a U.S. Marshal, says the victim was in witness protection. He kept tabs on Bob to make sure he was safe. Luke didn't know who to trust. Chloe tells Lucifer maybe it is kind of fun being in the know, like knowing what you are now. Chloe arrives home and Maze is waiting for her. What's up, Decker? Chloe has, I put Chloe. Why do I do this sometimes? I type too fast for my mind to formulate what I'm trying to type, so I put Chloe has handcuffed herself in the chair, when in fact it was Maze that handcuffed herself in the chair, or handcuffed herself so she couldn't get free, well, at least what we thought. Mace says that even though she's a demon, she would never hurt Chloe. Trixie's at Dan's, and Trixie's still upset with Mace for her comment from the last season that's never been resolved yet. Amenadiel and Lucifer talk in the penthouse, so Amenadiel is back after disappearing with Charlotte Richards, or taking Charlotte Richards to heaven, and he says that Charlotte indeed went to heaven. Lucifer says he's going to miss Amenadiel. Lucifer tells Amenadiel Chloe knows who he really is. Lucifer tells Amenadiel to go home, and Chloe and Lucifer go see Frank the pool boy. Frank last saw Bob on the stand when Bob testified. So again, Bob was like a mobster. Frank was like a monster. Did I say monster? Mobster. And Uncle Vin was a bastard. Bob did them a favor by getting him put away. Lucifer touches Chloe, and she flinches with terror. And she says, Lucifer, you startled me, but I think there was more to it there. She looked like afraid that Lucifer just touched her. Chloe talks to Luke about the information about Bob. Lucifer goes to Dan for advice. We're not friends anymore. Dan says if someone recoils upon a touch, it means they hate you, which obviously makes Lucifer pretty sad, because that's what Chloe did. Lucifer goes to visit Linda Martin. She's deeper in denial than he thought. Chloe tells Dan she's there for him, as Dan is still trying to deal with the tragic death of Charlotte Richards. So Dan and Chloe go to Lenore's place. That's Bob's, the victim's spouse. And Ella says Lenore left with her get the hell out of town go bag. Chloe asks Dan about the footage that he viewed, and the surveillance footage, and Luke Reynolds lied from the info that Dan told Chloe. Luke Reynolds being the U.S. Marshal guy. Session time for Maze and Linda. Linda's got moves. She's been doing kickboxing. Okay, go ahead, Linda Martin. Amenadiel arrives and thinks they're both fighting over him. We're good. We don't need your help. Amenadiel says heaven didn't feel like home, and Mace says this is your home. That's why. Ella says she just got a hit on Reynolds' GPS off Chloe and Lucifer go. I actually put Chloe and Lucifer. I just accidentally said Chloe and Decker there. It's not your job to punish Reynolds. It's mine. So Reynolds is obviously our killer, and he's trying to punish, Bob's, spouse. And so what happens is Reynolds ends up shooting Lucifer in the palm, and then Reynolds runs, and Lucifer is either able to hold Reynolds in place when he's in his vehicle, holding like the pillar or whatever it was, and he's kind of showing his eyes during all this, but he's holding him in place, and Chloe's able to arrest him during this, and then Maze back at the station sees Trix, and then she says, "I'm sorry." I'm so sorry for saying those things. Trixie hugs Maze, because Maze was going to leave, and then Trixie said Maze. So Trixie hugs Maze. I know, dummy. Trixie couldn't stay mad at her. I think this was a cop-out. It seemed Maze said something very rude or very mean about a child, and I don't think that Trixie would give up that, be this easy on her about that. Kids hold grudges, so... Amenadiel sneaks up on Dan. Hello, Dan. He tells Dan he's the most human person he knows. What made you choose to live here? And Amenadiel tells Dan Charlotte Richards is in heaven. Dan says he hates it when people say that. She is. Trust me. Dan gaps. They hug. And Dan says, somehow, I believe you. Chloe goes to see Lucifer at Lux. She says it's unfair for him to accept it. So he feels like it's kind of unfair for me to just think that you'll accept all this. And she says what she saw was her partner. Really? Really? Well, problem solved, detective. And then we have Chloe going to a church. She starts crying, and then we're introduced. We're not actually introduced, but we see the character of Father Kinley, I think it is, assuming that's how it's pronounced. I just know that from things that I've saw about Lucifer. He puts his hand on Chloe's hand, and he says, "You knew this part would be difficult, Chloe, but just remember, what you're doing is the best thing for everyone on the earth, including Lucifer." And Chloe says, "I know." And then Father Kinley says, "Are you ready for the next step?" Chloe says, "I am," and that's what ends the episode. So, for many of you that watch these reviews but don't comment, or the people that do comment, Crazy Coffee Man, I usually look at IMDb before every season starts to just kind of take a look at things. I didn't right before this season started, but I did previously for this season, and I saw the episode score was an 8.9 out of 10. What I did is I did my review and gave my score and then looked back at IMDb just to refresh my thoughts, and it's 8.9 out of 10. It's not an 8.9 out of 10 for me. There's elements that are good, but in my opinion, I just really wasn't interested in this episode. We don't really get many mentions of Marcus Kane at all, or Marcus Pierce, Kane, Pierce, whatever you want to call him, when he was the lieutenant of the station, and there's not a lot about him. It's like his character was just kind of dropped off the show like that. So I'm going to give the episode a 7.6 out of 10. I really thought this season was going to be good. Granted, it's just one episode, but I don't know. I like some of the stuff in the episode, but I feel like I like the whole him calling Dan a douche again. That was great, but I don't know. And then other than Lucifer and Chloe, I would have to give Maze the character of the episode. So Maze and Chloe is the female ones, and then Lucifer obviously is the male. And those are my thoughts thus far. I'm hoping this show really picks it up and really gets interesting, but maybe I've already seen my peak. Now that we're going to deal with a lot more religious stuff in this show, which we already had before, but from what I've read, I don't really know all that much about it, but I know there's more of a religious thing with this father thing, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But anyway, so those are my thoughts. You've heard everything that I have to say. Now it's your turn. So if you are a fan of Lucifer, if you're a fan of Lucifer and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please make sure that you Hulk smash that like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section and talk to me and Crazy Coffee Man about this episode of Lucifer. So far, he's the only one that comments on these Lucifer videos. I know other people watch them. Of course, I know that YouTube messes up my view count now and changes it a day later, so who knows, but there's somebody out there that's watching these besides Crazy Coffee Man. So let me know your thoughts. What would you score the episode, and whom would be your characters of the episode? standout characters, whatever you want to do, just let me know what you thought of it. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return as soon as I find out what it is that you desire.